Hello and welcome to the Engineer Your Success, Leadership, and Life Harmony Like a Mother show. I'm your host, Kenya Romanovska, award-winning investigative journalist turned maternity leave and working motherhood strategist. And I'm here to help you turn your motherhood penalty into your greatest advantage. Particularly helpful if you are a mother working in a STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But we also love to welcome women who are in the arts academia. We are here to help you and support you. And today's topic is one that has been extremely popular with our audience. Last year, we had a webinar about managing anxiety as a working mom in a STEM field. And many people reached out to me and told me that it was the best webinar they've ever attended and that they were so happy that they are not alone on this journey. So during that webinar, we had participants and moms who are engineers and also an EFT practitioner, which I will speak about. I will define what EFT is a little bit later. And we had a candid conversation about anxiety. I work with very high performance women who are at the top of their class, women who are also highly appreciated in their workplaces. And one of the common threads in this demographic is that there is a fair amount of anxiety, a significant amount of anxiety. Many women who do extremely well in their careers also suffer from anxiety. And I've been there. I remember being in school and being at the top of my class and having my first panic attack and then going through terrible bouts of anxiety as I was growing up. And that topic back then was rather taboo. We didn't talk about it much. So I did a fair amount of suffering in silence. And I'm still, even though things have improved, there's less of a taboo about the topic. I still get messages from moms who say, "Oh, I thought I was alone." So today I want to talk about the 3 anti-anxiety and mental health habits. You can ignore the physical there, that's a typo, that I wish I had way earlier and that have significantly improved my quality of life and my clients' quality of life. So let's start with the first one, EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique Tapping. In the MomBA program, which is our 12-month program for STEM moms who want to turn the motherhood penalty into their greatest advantage in all pillars of life, we have a guest expert. Her name is Yolanda Saez Castillo. And she used to work in banking, was a very high performer in banking, and at some point decided that it was time to help women overcome burnout because she saw it and saw its ravages, saw the ravages of mental health issues. And now she helps women overcome anxiety and smash the limits, right? One tapping session at a time. And so emotional freedom technique is a proven method that helps decrease the flow of blood to your amygdala and significantly reduces cortisol levels. Now, Yolanda speaks about it in depth every time we do a session with her. She also does public sessions with us sometimes, but it's something like 40% reduction in cortisol levels, and in some cases even more. So it's a point where you use a specific script where you acknowledge what you are feeling, where you love and accept yourself anyway, and then you open yourself up to different ways of feeling. And every time we do a session online, for those of you watching, you'll see that I'll be tapping on my head, on top of my eyebrow, kind of on the side of my eyebrow, under the eye, under the nose, under the lips, on my collarbone, and then what we call the bear hug or the bra strap. And this is a technique that we use in the MomBA program to reduce stress and experiences of stress and anxiety. And I've seen it to be extremely effective. We see people starting to yawn during our sessions, which is a good sign that you're getting relaxed. And I see many of my clients wanting to do that type of work privately, right? So I wish I knew about that earlier. In some countries, it's actually part of the healthcare system and also part of the schooling system where kids are taught this technique. I got a special book. I use the technique with my kids. I still want to adopt it more. Remember that it's actually a tool that's available to us besides when we're in the sessions, but definitely it's a beloved tool in our community. Okay, the second habit I wish I had earlier was understanding the importance of mindset. I started operating Pros and Babes, which is a media and education company, when I had my first son. And I didn't know that what I was doing through my curriculum was mindset work. I was using my talents as a communications professional, as a journalist, to bring conversation and awareness and to help women create a vision of success for themselves in all areas of life. And I realized later when I started doing my work more intensively and wanting to do it full time, because I saw the really positive impact of doing this work with mothers, I realized, yes, it's helping women work on their mindset. And that's something that my clients and I invest in and heavily. And it's also the work of a lifetime. In fact, I love hearing the engineers I work with repeat to me, wow, I had no idea that mindset had such a huge impact. Your mindset is your collection of thoughts, your beliefs, everything that runs your programming on the back end. It's only one of the components. But what I noticed in working motherhood is that I really didn't feel great about it in the beginning. Motherhood, I know for many professionals, is a huge transformation. Many of you listening here became mothers during the pandemic. That had its own traumatizing effects. And it was tough. And I had this script in my mind that motherhood and working motherhood is hard. And what did I experience? I mean, hardship, a feeling of hardship, right? So I started noticing that when we mapped our current state and then we mapped a future state, designing the mindset, designing the thoughts, designing the beliefs through vision boards, through roadmaps, through worksheets. However, there's so many ways to work on mindset. I've developed my own curriculum to do it, but it really made a huge impact on mental health. And particularly when we did exercises about the inner mentor and then the long-term 25-year vision of what we are building as mothers in this world, that one brought many tears. And until today still, and I think until forever, this will remain one of my main tools because I know that I'm playing the long game. And so instead of getting stuck in the day to day, now I have an infant, a 3-month-old infant, and a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. We are going through a season of less sleep. So, this topic is very timely for me. I know that I'm playing the long game and I have my life playbook. I have shorter term visions. I have monthly visions. I have 5-year visions. I have 25-year visions. I have 3-year arcs. I'm experimenting with all because I want to find the most effective ways. And I see with my clients that a balance between a long-term game and then shorter term implementation plans work best, but the visuals are so important. And when I'm clear on what I'm building in my life day after day, it helps take a step back. I will be super honest and transparent with you right now. In the last week, with my baby's age, I am not sleeping super well. We've hired a sleep consultant, one of the best, to support us through this journey. I'm a business owner. I'm not stopping work, right? So I need to be able to function. And it's been tough. Today, probably I woke up, I told my husband, I said, okay, like this is a tougher day for me. On better days, in terms of my mindset, I wake up in the middle of the night when my daughter needs to nurse and I tell myself, thank you for the opportunity to be your mom. Thank you for the chance to love you on this earth, right? I know that many people would love to have this problem. And it's this inner talk that I've been working on for years that's significantly changing. Instead of listening to the voice of my ego that's looking for threats, instead of complaining about the situation, which is objectively, physically, and emotionally hard, right? I mean, there are physical side effects to not sleeping. I constantly work on shifting my mindset. I know that I'm playing the long game. I know that I'm nurturing relationships with my children that will last a longer time. I give myself perspective. When I was a newer mom, I resisted motherhood. Now I remember somebody in my network wrote that with their third child, they melted into motherhood. And this week, I went to a cafe and I was sleep deprived, and I sat and my baby was next to me, and sometimes she slept and she didn't, and I just stared into the distance. Instead of beating myself up for not being productive and not responding to my emails, I surrendered to the experience. So that's all part of my shifting mindset. And I really wish that this was taught more in schools. I was taught to be a high performer, to get good grades, to get results, right? It was conditioned in my mind from the start that there's an external reward. But once I started caring more about loving myself, about seeing my contribution in the world, knowing that I have unique and special talents, it's not about proving it to others. It's actually about my experience of life. And I will tell you, I feel better at the end of the day when I feed my mind with the type of dialogue or monologue that I mentioned to you. I am lucky to have this experience. This is a temporary phase. Really enjoying my daughter's smiles while acknowledging that yes, this is physically hard. This is physically demanding, but I chose this. I chose this life. I chose this present. So it didn't happen overnight. There's been a lot of tapping. There's been hiring a lot of mentors. There's been trying different techniques. There's been reading different books. And I'm really careful too. People are like, well, is this toxic positivity? I there is a nuance there when you really claim your life and you decide not to see yourself as a victim. Understandably, there are systems that are not meant for us to thrive as mothers, as women. There are systemic issues, but systems are changed by individuals, and people are driven by self-interest. So I decided, once I acknowledged how much of a victim mindset I had about working motherhood in the beginning, that I want to be part of the solution, right? Not part of the problem. And that it's my responsibility to start designing the world in a different way. And now that I have a daughter, that is even more pressing. And to me, it all starts with mindset. You can't create positive and lasting change in the world and your environment if you don't start with yourself, right? Is the classic be the change you want to see in the world. So gosh, it's going to be hard for me to stay at 3. I'm not going to talk about having a therapist because I feel like at this point, that's generally a given for most people I work with who want to have a really good quality of life. I would say the majority, if not all of women that I work with believe in counseling and therapy. It's part of us learning to understand our relationships, our emotional systems, tackling any mental health or emotional health issues. So that's not making it into my top 3 tips. I've worked with therapists for a really long time, sometimes more, sometimes less, individual therapy, couples therapy, right? Like mindset work, which is more future focused. But the last one I will say is, maybe I'll make it to the 3rd. I will say meditation. I'm early in the journey and I've kicked meditation down the road for many years now. I remember reading a book by Tim Ferriss. I think it was Tools of Titans, or I don't remember. There's 2 that are really interesting. And one thing that practically all of the people in these books had in common is they practice meditation. And meditation can be really intimidating when you start. I didn't know where to start. And I thought, how can I meditate while raising a family? It feels crazy and insane. But I got to the point where being a human doing and implementing strategies and systems and getting results, right? When you are in business, you're your own boss. You have to motivate yourself to reach your financial goals, to offer the best quality service to your clients, to do things that make you feel uncomfortable. So there's a lot of doing you need to do in the beginning, right? When you are a business owner. But at some point you face the limitations of that and you have to transform actually how you show up in the world. And the mentor that I hired to work with that teaches a very specific modality of meditation. And I really, really love it. I started about a month ago. For the first 2 weeks, I was pretty consistent, 2 to 3 weeks. I would go to bed earlier with my daughter and then wake up just before her naturally. And so I decided I would have my speakers and I would do the 25-minute meditation. And it transformed how I felt about life. Even as my sleep was cut, I felt like I'm walking through my days feeling grounded and supported and more, I would say, optimistic, and this knowing that things are working out for me. Whereas before this practice, there's this pesky ego voice that is always, has this little like judgy talk, like blah, 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 but things are not happening fast enough, or why do you always have to remind people of things? And that voice, I wanted to get rid of it. But it was always there. And I'm not saying it's never there. I mean, this is a lifelong practice that you have to get into. But this meditation where she has this anchor into a deep feminine energy and into a masculine energy. And, in the feminine, we give our worries, our difficult feelings, our situations to literally the hot magma in the earth and have that melted and cleansed and brought back to us. And then we also give our thoughts to a higher masculine power, Father, God, Source, Universe, however you want to call it. But it's very liberating because now I feel like I'm not carrying all of that by myself. And I think that in our mental health journey, any of us who have suffered from anxiety and depression, I remember when it happened for the first time in my life, I was 18 and I did not understand what was going on with me. It was so scary. But my journey to getting better started by reading this one sentence in the book, The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. And the question was like, how is your depression and your anxiety a gift from God? right? Whether you have a faith life or not, I mean, I believe in a connection with something bigger than us, right? And my mindset shifted around that. I'm like, well, are there gifts? Are there actually gifts in this really terrible state of mind that I'm experiencing? And so I started looking at things differently. And there was a long journey where I placed a lot of blame on external factors for my anxiety and my depression and earlier in life, right? And yeah, we want to blame our parents. And for it took me many, many years because we learned certain behaviors at home, and we came from a communist country where there's a very tragic history. And I think that there's a lot that we acquire through our genes, right? Not just, I mean, and behaviorally speaking. And so I know that a lot of people from my ethnicity also suffer from anxiety and depression. We have high performance standards. And so it took me years to stop blaming uh, others for how I was, right? There's times in my life where I thought, well, what would my life look like if I had not gone through anxiety and depression? Would I have a different job? Would my life have been different, right? So tying it into the archetypes of the masculine and the feminine and doing this meditation and this connection with these archetypes in my life, for me it's extremely empowering. And I'm getting closer to 40, and truly at this age, I mean, to still blame your environment, your parents, however your circumstances, if you blame others for your how your existence is, you're not going to be very happy. And I've gotten to a point, and by the way, I mean, my parents are wonderful people, and I'm sure that my kids one day will blame me for things that I did inadvertently. I think we just all are, I would say, the products of our circumstances, right? Or kind of our history. But at some point, as you grow up, you have to start taking accountability, like full accountability for your life. And so this meditation I find is incredibly freeing because finally I'm connecting to, I think we all need the support of these archetypal energies, right? A father, a mother energy, and making that connection and giving my painful thoughts, my painful feelings to these energies has really taken my mental health to a next level, right? So I wish that I had known about these modalities earlier on. I guess motherhood was also my journey into that, because when I think about my career, and it's funny to think now about the decades in my life, it feels like it happened so fast. I'm sure many of you can relate to that. But I feel like it's my deepest calling to help parents, and especially women, to see the transition into motherhood as a leadership experience and as a lifestyle expansion opportunity. I see way too many women wanting to fit into the existing old boys club and be like guys, but the reality is that that's not how we are as women. And I think having children really awakens us to that. And so it forces us to create for ourselves, right? So that's my calling to you. If you are listening to this recording, to this podcast, to this live show, however you are tuning in, is dare be a creator. Don't be simply a consumer and then a powerless actor in the system, but take command of your mental health, take command of your desires, take command of your motherhood journey. Start with one step at a time. In the beginning, it can feel so overwhelming. I remember I was there. It was all about the system is not designed for women. But then, so what? What are you going to do? Are you going to spend the rest of your career railing against it, right? Or are you going to be part of the movement that transforms it for yourself and for the next generation? And I know that might be triggering to some, and you know what? That's okay. I've had people unlike, unfollow, whatever for that reason, but I now feel more confident than ever in my mission because I'm seeing the results when I work with my clients, when women decide to take accountability for their motherhood, for their journey, for their career, and not necessarily look externally for their source of happiness. I see the amazing outcomes financially, and their relationships, and their careers, and their relationships with their kids, and their mental health, everything, right? So there you go. I hope that you found these tips useful. Tapping, mindset, and then I spoke about meditation, but I'm newer on this journey of meditation. It is one of my goals to continue the practice for years to come. And yes, some of you are messaging me and asking me, Kenya, how do you meditate with a baby? I responded privately. I mean, there was intentionality about how I crafted the season of my life with the third baby. And it's not like every single day I do it the way I would like to. But right now, Lily is on a walk with one of her grandparents, and that was by design. We worked on that months before my baby was born. So thank you so much for your attention, for your time, for your trust. It's such a privilege to share this platform with you. I know that many of you are tuning in to the recording. We're on a walk. I know that I believe you, that I see you, that I know that this can be a challenging season of your life, but you are not alone. There's community. We're here to support you, and we're here to help you craft your own path of success and not just fit in. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time, and make sure to register for our interactive webinars on our website, prosandbabes.com. You will see that we have monthly webinars. We actually had 2 this week, one about networking as a busy mom. And earlier this month, I did about the time and energy management techniques for busy moms and caregivers. So those are the tools I use, the more masculine time management tools I use. So make sure to register for our whole series. We have at least one per month. And then in April, we're bringing back our longer workshop to really help you take a deeper dive into what it means to be a successful mom juggling a career. Bye, everyone. Thank you.